Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to things Americans think are normal that the rest of the world thinks are not so normal. So I'm trying to think of examples. Maybe, oh God, I know this is such a cliched sort of played out one, but the tipping thing, like everywhere else that I've been in the world, tipping isn't really, it's not like it is in America, where if you go to a good restaurant, you are expected to leave like a tip. I've not been to anywhere else that does that. I'm trying to think of other examples. Yeah, that's pretty much the only one that can come to my mind. There's definitely more, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
Hello. Whew. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask Reddit. My name is Evan Edinger, and today's thread in question is, what is the weirdest thing about America that Americans don't realize is weird? I've done a few on this topic in the past, but every time I look through, I'm like, if there's any new juicy nuggets, and these were all new juicy nuggets. First off, something that I guess is more American than I thought, putting the real estate agent's face on for sale sign.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. That's a good one. Here, it's just the name of the company.
I just realized that's not a thing over here. I've never seen a real estate agent's face on one of the posters in the UK at all. They just have the word toilet with the word I missing. It's very weird. If you ever want to advertise a house in the UK, just put toilet on it. People
Anyone who doesn't know, just to let, obviously.
just remember, leave the
To
I
rent.
off. But in the US, very well known for this this type of thing. That's, for instance, why there was a very good South Park episode recently making fun of this. Everyone has the back-breaking, like, shit-eating grin. That is so interestingly, I guess, just American culture. Something you don't realize is more American than not here. We've got, it's big, really big. Yeah, I'm from the UK, and 2 years ago, I did Route 66, even taking the interstate, so
It's
not
huge.
actual Route 66, but you get the idea. It took 4 days and 12 plus hours of driving to do it. It's huge. Yeah, I do oftentimes look at images of countries overlaid on other countries just because I like seeing the difference in size. So I have looked at this image of the UK on top of the US.
Wow, is this accurate? That is insane. So the whole of the UK is barely bigger than Nebraska and Kansas.
It's crazy. It's crazy how small the country I live in now is in comparison. I'm doing a road trip, actually by the time you're watching this probably, in the US, where I'm driving from Jersey all the way through the Midwest, getting to Chicago, and then all the way to Toronto, and then back down to Jersey. And just the drive to Chicago's like has to be split up because it's I think like 12, 13 hours the way that I'm doing it. So, oh boy. Also, isn't it weird that the Midwest isn't in the Midwest? If anything, it's in the Middle East. Just saying. All right, next up, we have how easy it is for an outsider to make friends. I do think it's interesting that because maybe from my experience, anyone that is not from your area is immediately more interesting. At least it was for me growing up. It's like, whoa, phenomenal. You come from Pennsylvania? Phew. Oh, Canada? That's cool. Bringing my girlfriend around New Jersey, just her accent made people go, what? She's not from around these parts. In the UK, what are there, like over 50 different accents within like County Durham? So, I feel like you hear different accents all the time, you're more used to it. So basically, people are super friendly in America, especially to outsiders, according to this. Y'all can
Okay, I mean, I've not been in America long enough to experience that, but it definitely seems easier to like spark up conversations with random people in America.
strike a conversation with the tree. That's because Americans don't know that trees aren't people. You literally don't need anyone to respond. You're like, yeah, bro. That's so funny. I literally cut off the sentence to tell a not funny joke. I do feel like Americans abroad do get a bad rap for talking a lot. I once went on a date with a girl. I think she came from Lithuania, and I just felt like there was so many awkward silences. So when I hear a silence, I seek to fill silence with something interesting or talk or give them a question they can answer. I had to do that like so many times. And then at one point she said, you really like to hear your own voice. And I was like, well, it's better than hearing nothing. Like if you would, what the
I'm guessing that date didn't go anywhere. Jeez.
All right, this one, because I've made a whole video about it. Prescription drug ads that are on TV that say side effects may include death. I think I've said this one before. Americans are well aware of this. I've made an entire video about how this phenomenon came to be and how it was actually a British company's fault. So if you haven't seen that yet, give it a watch. The options when ordering food. I thought it was just a TV joke.
I don't know, man. I feel like if a medication's side effects can include death, I don't know if that thing should be sold. What do you guys think?
I feel naughty asking to swap chips for mash, but you guys can request pretty much anything. Yeah, just looking at like what you can get when you ask for eggs in the States at your local diner, there's so many different options that I think has always thrown every British friend off that I take to a diner. They're always like, what? What do you mean, how do I want my eggs cooked? And it's like, no, you know, sunny side up, over easy, you know, you got scrambled, you got a little poached, you give them the options. And then it's like, how runny do you want the yolk? Or just take a Brit to Cheesecake Factory, because the size of those menus, the bigger a menu, the less I trust a place for the most part, except for like Cheesecake Factory. I do feel like they've nailed it. Next.
I agree. Like, what do you guys think of that? Like, the place with like a massive menu, like it's not going to be great, because how can you possibly make that many things really well? Or what do you guys think? Am I being too pessimistic?
The gigantic open spaces everywhere. So much space. Yeah. As someone who's not yet, until this week, been to the Midwest, I'm assuming as soon as you're in like the Kansas, Oklahoma, the prairie, it's going to just be nothingness, right? It's big open space. Read a book once. That's embarrassing. Just read a book once. Is that it? I went there for university, and honestly, Americans just do the little things that are generally nice. Holding the door open, smiling if you make eye contact while walking, randomly saying a quick greeting, etc. Random compliments too. And I never get the vibe that people are just making them up, like some of my friends at the time. Ooh, rough. If someone complimented someone's clothes/hair, it felt like they meant it. You know, they just didn't seem to hold back the random thoughts, and they said them out loud. You know, well, I feel like usually that's pitched as a negative, so I'll take that as a positive. I didn't even notice the door holding thing after the first few days. And when I went back to my country, I missed it. That is a thing I have noticed, actually. I will agree. From my experience, Americans are way more likely to hold the door open for you. At least compared to London. I'll preface that. Someone from the...
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like it's on par.
Country of not London is going to be like, wait a minute.
I don't know. Maybe if I was a lady, I'd have the door held open for me more. Maybe.
Yeah, people generally run ahead to hold the door open for people with their hands full, right? Listen, I live in London. I feel like anyone that's not London, it's a different experience. Your news channels display far too much info on the screen. Yeah, I actually never quite understood that as a kid or as an adult. When I used to watch the Onion news channel, which was a parody of news channels, you had to watch it twice because there was always a ticker of extra news at the bottom, except on the Onions, that was just a really funny thing, so I couldn't focus on the video at the same time. But in actual American news, that's how are you supposed to like quickly glance down and be like, all right, looks like Osama's dead. Anyway, what's going on with oh shoot, the Dow is down, I guess. Darn. Coffee all the time. I got a tattoo in Barcelona and was completely embarrassed when I asked the artist if he wanted a coffee from next door. He told me, oh no, I have to keep working. He thought I wanted to go with him for a while. Well, I think maybe that's a language barrier, because that's like 2 words off. Saying, do you want a coffee? I feel like that means, do you want me to get you one? If you say, do you want to get a coffee, well then that means going with you. So I feel like maybe that was a language barrier thing. We do like our coffee, but it's very different to coffee everywhere else that I've ever been.
Would anybody like more coffee?
Coffee in America is, you know, just big, huge amount of filtered coffee, usually in the big jugs. I'm used to the big Wawa experience. It's just constant drinking large amounts of not that strong coffee on the go.
Whipped cream, caramel, and 2 humps of chocolate.
You know what I mean? It's like coffee drinks.
I see. So it's more. So it's more like a drink that has a bit of coffee in there with a bunch of other stuff, as opposed to just pure coffee. Because like I can't imagine drinking more than 3 cups of strong coffee a day. Like that, I'd be buzzing. I'd be like, ugh.
That's it. America's not really big into coffee. They're big into coffee drinks.
I'll have a Trenta no foam 5-shot half cap, no foam, pumpkin spice latte with no foam at 210 degrees.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a big difference. The toilet is so full of water. I always have to convince myself.
I've never had a pumpkin spice latte before, but I've heard of it many times.
That I'm not about to dunk my cheeks. Why do people complain about this? It's a positive thing because it's way more efficient for making sure all the stuff that goes in the toilet goes out of the toilet. UK toilets and a lot of around Europe, there's so little water in there, you have to like squint to see. And then when you poo, the poop, whatever you want to call it, it goes on the shelf. Like the Germans, they love the little poo shelf so they can look at it and be like, oh, das gut, das Scheiße sieht so gut aus. Meine Scheiße sieht so gut aus. Danke. Yeah, I don't like that, because then the water that's got to clear it up is going to leave behind things. You got to brush it up. I feel like when you have a huge toilet full of water, it pushes it all away.
Valid, very true. There's less likely to be skid marks down the toilet.
Japanese toilets still supreme, but American toilets beat UK toilets every time. Cashiers in stores standing. I hate that that's a uniquely American thing. When I worked at the old Pizza Hut for 5 years, if I was caught sitting down, that would be it. Like I would hear it, I'm supposed to be standing. So that way I'm more readily able to answer the phones and fold boxes or roll silverware or do other things. Even though I could do those sitting, they would sometimes let you do it if it was really dead in the store and you were doing other things like folding boxes and such. Otherwise, no. I do think that they should pass some sort of law
Seems
to make
harsh.
it like not allowed. You shouldn't have to pass a law for that. I don't think any other country has needed a law for that. But the US clearly needs a law to be like, hey, cashiers don't have to stand. You're not allowed to mandate that they stand. You know,
So if you work in retail in America, you cannot sit, even if the store's empty, there's like one person in there, you have to be stood up the whole time? Seems harsh.
don't have to say that they can sit or they have to sit. Just say that they don't have to stand. There's gonna be so many comments being like, you boot-licking government lover, me and my libertarian friends ain't never gonna let my cashiers sit. What are they doing sitting? Probably texting them communists like Kamala. My boyfriend is Scottish. When people hear his accent in the States, they go crazy. It's true. However, that has nothing to do with the topic at hand, right? What is the weirdest thing about America that Americans don't realize is weird? And this person that everyone upvoted said, my boyfriend is Scottish. When people hear his accent, they just go crazy. I guess I would agree with you. Americans don't realize it's weird to go crazy for your Scottish boyfriend. He's yours. Stay away, America. The work culture is crazy. I worked there and some people just don't take time off. They're basically on call all the time, evenings, weekends, whatever. That is part of the work culture, but also because of the laws. A lot of these people that are super workaholic don't really have many other options at their job. A lot of places do not have paid holiday or paid vacation days. I've made an entire video about basic workers' rights.
Those people need to unionize. I mean, come on. No paid holiday? None? Or sick days? Unions. You need to get a union.
Rights in the UK versus the US, and it's just crazy. People say, oh, I've got holiday at my job. I'm like, yes, you do, because your job thankfully gave it to you. But the government should make sure that the jobs actually do give it to everybody. Otherwise, people like me that worked 5 years as a server at a Pizza Hut would receive 0 days of paid holiday. That's insane. You say that to someone that is not in the US, they'd be like, what? That's freaking dystopian and weird. 5 years working at a place, you don't get a single day paid holiday.
How many, any Americans watching this, or Canadians as well, how many days holiday do you get? Here, as standard, it's usually at least 20, plus public holidays, so like Christmas, not Halloween, sorry, Boxing Day. So usually it's like a month, usually, something like that.
Yeah, that's just the way it is in the States. But people like this commenter on Reddit will chalk it up to people just love working. That's not it. I genuinely don't think that's it at all. I think that's some really bad take. Americans don't necessarily love to work. They just fucking have to, because that's the way the system is at the moment. So, sorry, pushing back, no. The tax isn't automatically added to the price shown in shops, restaurants, etc. I only have $1 in my pocket. I'd like to use it straight away and see what I can buy for that $1 without having to try to find the tax rate out while calculating it. I will say that's one of the worst things that I'm still a bit surprised is a thing in the US. Every positive you can say, like, oh, well, every state wants to have different things. All of those positives are purely for companies. Like purely for corporations to not have to worry as much about things. None of that is for the consumer. The consumer, as someone who's experienced both ways of life, would much more prefer to just have a number and not have to think, especially because, you know, when you go on like one of those cheap airlines and you say, oh, it's only like $30 to get on this flight. That's great. And then you get there and they're like, oh, that suitcase is larger than my hand, sir. That's $50. And you're like, fuck. So you give them $50 and you sit down, they're like, sorry, you have to stand unless you pay another $50. And every little extra fee that they charge you for the oxygen that drops down, everything that they charge on those flights makes you feel a bit more annoyed. That's American culture with the taxes not being added automatically.
Because it would be so easy, because there's usually a price tag on everything in the store. So all they'd need to do is just add the sales tax while they're printing off the label and then attach the label to the item. Like, do you guys like prefer it the way it is in America, or do you think, because it would just, you'd know exactly how much it's going to be when you get to the till.
It's that little bit. Anyway, thank you for listening to my YouTube video. If you want, you can give me a tip, 10%, sorry, 10% is not supposed to be there, 20%. Every time someone asks you for more money, the taxes, the tips, it doesn't feel nice. Just have that included in and people won't feel as bad about it. That is a weird American thing. Radically different laws for each state. Yeah, you could do something illegal in one, travel a few miles, and then boom. Yeah, but maybe it's because I grew up like that. I'm like, that's normal. Hypothetically, if I wanted to do something illegal, here's an example. Oh, I want to smoke a little weed legally. All I got to do is take a train or take a plane to Amsterdam,
Colorado?
and there you go.
Yeah.
If I want to drive 200 kilometers an hour, I could just take a flight to Germany and hop on the Autobahn. So, it's a slightly similar thing. I guess because it's so much easier to cross state lines, that does make it a lot more interesting. But I also live on an island. When I was a kid, fireworks were very much illegal in my home state of New Jersey. But that doesn't mean that people didn't like fireworks every 4th of July. All it meant was you took a really quick drive across the Christiana Bridge to Delaware and got some there. Or you could just drive across the Walt Whitman and head to Pennsylvania, just buy them there. And when you come back, you light it up, hooray! Now, you're not supposed to light them up. But also, it's America, it's about freedom. This state says no fireworks, I'm going to Pennsylvania. I don't want to do that normally, but I'm gonna do it for the fireworks.
Someone told me that America's basically like 50 small countries under one umbrella. Like, is that an accurate way to sort of describe America? Because each state kind of has its own sort of self-governance to a degree, right?
It's not uniquely American. There are definitely
But then the president does have some power over all of those states.
laws between Switzerland and Germany that things are illegal in one area and you could just drive across the border and do things. Same thing with France, same thing with Spain and Portugal. I guess if you want to view it because you're in the same country, sure. But then you can make that argument about going between like England and Scotland. They're the same like United Kingdom, but there are definitely laws that are different in between them that I'm not getting into. You guys do love your big cars, huh? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
that yet again isn't necessarily because we
The big pickup truck, Ford F-150.
love our big cars as much as the industry has kind of pushed Americans towards bigger cars. I know that it might not make sense, but from a health and safety perspective, if your neighbor and every neighbor on the road has a bigger truck than your truck, if I get in an accident with my neighbor, I will actually die because these trucks are so big, they're actually going to affect my life. So then you have to get a bigger truck so that you can compete with those trucks if you ever get in an accident. And now all the people that are in small little Priuses are looking up like, Jesus Christ, there's giant trucks everywhere. This is a weird one that people, I feel like, always complain about in my comment section.
Man, I saw, I think it was a Ford F-250 last year in America, and it was massive. Like, this thing was huge. Like, unless you're a farmer or someone that needs to, like, move a lot of gear, like a lot. Maybe if you work in, trying to think, what other job? Maybe tradesman, like a carpenter. Do you really need a car that big?
And I don't know why. I think Brits have an aversion to giving their credit card to someone. We have this as when the workers at food places take your card and then, they give it back to you and you got to pay the tip and whatever. For me, as someone, yet again, who worked as a server for 5 years, I would just take the card, I put it in the reader, and I write down the stuff, and then bring it back to you. It saves you time. I've just realized that this was because I don't think the contactless payments were a thing in the States when I worked there. I feel like the major reason that we would just take cards and then, take them to pay was that's just always how it was done. There's always just a level of trust there. And also, if you were stupid enough to actually steal someone's information, you could immediately find that out. To be fair, I think that did happen at the Pizza Hut I worked at. One of the employees was caught doing that to someone. So, you have reason to fear it, but they got all their money back and the employee was fired and I think thrown in jail or something. So tipping is super weird. It is, but also if I'm only being paid $2.13 an hour, I'm desperate. I'm desperate for the money because I'm not being paid because the laws are made this way. Yes, I've made an entire video about that. And it's one of my best videos from like 5 years ago. So
yeah, I'm not going anywhere near it. It's a tough one because a lot of people who get tips enjoy it and they would rather keep the system as it is. And fair enough, if it's working for you and you're making a lot more than you would if you were making like a flat rate of $25 an hour, fair play.
If you haven't seen the video on tipping, there's sketches. The flags everywhere. Yeah, out of everywhere I've ever visited, the only place that's ever come close to the amount of flags was actually China. So I don't know what that says, but China is had so many Chinese flags and loads of flags about the tenets of communism all up around when I was in Guangzhou and Hainan with my good friend Kim. But yeah, I feel like Americans these days always do find it this weird sense of patriotism around the flag, but that just comes from our upbringing, how it is instilled in us in school in every possible turn. You have to write essays about what the flag means to you. You have to pledge allegiance to it as a child every single day. It's very much part of the brainwashing of American society. Yes, that's what it is. One thing that I always find weird, if you're ever on the male living space subreddit, you'll always be able to tell when someone's an American, like in university. They'll put an American flag, just hang it on the wall and be like, that's my decor. I just like my freedoms. And it's so cringe. Every comment is always like, mate, just take the flag down. And they're like, what's wrong? Do you not like the flag? It's a beautiful flag. Sure, but like your personality doesn't have to be a flag. The billboards on the interstates, only 20 miles to, only 15 miles to, and some more chain business. Oh, fireworks everywhere. I feel like that's actually really useful though. Am I crazy? I know that when I'm driving on like Route 55 in Jersey or the Turnpike, for instance,
one's just come to me, turn right on red. I don't think any other country I've been to, you can turn right on red. I was at a red light and I didn't see that the green arrow had turned on. And I was just sitting there and people just started like, brr, brr, brr. I was like, what's going on? What have I done wrong?
Want to know what's up ahead. So you can be like, how much gas do I have in the tank? Maybe I can last 30 more minutes. Oh, it says, 2 stops from now, there's gonna be like a Chick-fil-A. All right, that sounds good. Right, we do have those in the UK, but not as often. But on this tangent, one thing that hasn't come up in this thread that's quite niche, that my girlfriend found quite weird about her time in America, in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, was so many different roads that you drive on have a sign warning you over and over, no matter how many times you've seen this sign that says, bridge freezes before road surface. Yeah, that's like basic science, right? But every single time you come to any sort of bridge, and there are a lot of bridges, you might not know. There's a lot of bridges in New Jersey, loads of creeks, loads of rivers, loads of tributaries, all over the place. And you're always going over them. And so the state is always trying to warn you like, hey, I don't know if you know this,
but I think that's good.
But the bridge freezes before the road surface. We want you to know at every possible moment. That is weird.
No, I think that's a good thing. Great video from Evan. The flag one is an interesting one because on the one hand, I like patriotism. I like it when people are proud of where they're from. You know, I see it as a good thing. Obviously, when I like it when it kind of stays as a wholesome, nice thing and it doesn't become weaponized. But on the other hand, I can see why, you know, making it your whole personality, it might be a little bit odd, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Like, I don't really stand in the for or against. I think, you know, somewhere in the middle, like most things, a fine balance. The cars one, honestly, is really like, any of you guys that have come to London or England, let me know when you started like driving around and seeing the cars, were you like, why are the cars here so small? Like, I didn't see one Fiat 500 in my 3 weeks, it was like 2.5 weeks in America. And this was across 4 or 5 states, I think. I didn't see one. And it's probably one of the most popular cars in the UK. It's a tiny little car, but yeah, that was a funny little bit of trivia. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my videos, please help me out by liking and subscribing.